Oh, okay. Let's get this thing going. I am really excited to talk about AEW Revolution 2025, which, for my money, I think it might be the perfect show with a very specific caveat involved. I'm really interested to hear the thoughts of my co-star, the how many awful adjectives can I fit into one sentence here? The indescribable Dory. Please introduce yourself to the Modcast faith.
Episode will be at an all-time high, and you will wonder whether we are going to fight each other or what
Don't
happened during the
finish
steel
that
cage match will
sentence.
happen.
Good
Uh,
grief. Starting off very strong there. So,
but yes, I'm Dory. I go by she, her. Y'all have seen me plenty of times in the Discord and shit because I got no life and I love talking wrestling. I've been wanting to do wrestling podcasting for a couple of years now, so I'm very excited to do this as a little test run for the future. But yeah, it was the Modcast. Now it's the Mudcast because I've joined and I'm not a mod. But I used to be, but then I took an arrow to the knee, so it was a whole thing.
oh, well, they should have aimed higher. Let's get into this because I want to get. So there is a very big, I would say, elephant in the room with this show, and I want to get it out of the way first because I think it's the thing that people will be talking about, regrettably, because I think the rest of the show is a fucking all timer of a pay per view. But let's get it out of the way first. We need to talk about that main event, which I think it's fair to say. Well, I was going to say I think it's fair to say that it's polarizing, but I'm not entirely sure it's even polarizing. I think it's fairly regarded as not great. Um, so obviously, if you haven't seen it, spoilers for the rest of the show ahead. But you're on a review podcast. You knew that was coming. Moxley versus Copeland for the AEW World Championship main evented this show over the protestations of I think a lot of people who probably wanted to see Mariah May and Tony Storm main event. So what do you first of all let's talk about that. What do you think about the decision to have this match with how it panned out main
Right.
event?
Yeah, I'm eating shit right now. I was one of the very few people who said that, well, Tony versus Mariah, it doesn't need a main. It's already happened twice already. You just get diminishing returns. And we'll talk about how wrong I was later. And then I'm like, if Mox and Cope can really get down there and dirty and do like a big bar brawl feel and get bloody, I always thought that match should have had a stipulation, and I think it's wild that they didn't. I think the match would have been at least, quite a bit better if they had a stipulate, but it was tough because steel cage and also because of the Hollywood ending match, you risk overdoing it. But yeah, no, the bottom line is Mariah and Tony probably should have ended it. And this match, I think, should have began it. You could argue, a mutual friend of ours said that it could have been one of the last four matches, but just put it on before the steel cage and then before the international and before the, obviously Mariah versus Tony. But it is what it is. It's where it was. We just have to deal with it. I get why it's there. I do think it's a big, huge match and it's worth putting on pay-per-view. But Mariah and Tony should have had that spot, and it was a mistake not to put it there.
Yeah, I completely agree. Um, I see the argument that you can't really start with this match because you have the Swerve stuff. Obviously Swerve. We'll get into that match. He beat Ricochet. He's now the number one contender for the AEW World Championship. So I get the idea that you cannot have the Swerve interaction after the match if you start with this because obviously the Swerve match wouldn't have happened yet. But I think if you were going to put this match in the main event, you needed so much more from this match than what you got.
Yeah.
Like,
I also think that you could have had that match at the beginning and then just done an angle with Swerve later after his Ricochet match. You could have had Mox come out and then Swerve had a cool like Swerve stomp spot, or they could have gotten into it or something, right? Like I don't know. I feel like they could have done something. Tony literally has the book. Like he literally controls what happens and when. Like he could have. I think there's lots of ways they could have had a backstage brawl. Mox could have been leaving and Swerve blindsides him. I know that would have raised the ire of some people because then the women don't truly close the show or something like that. But this is all hypothetical. Yeah, down to it. It's unfortunate how it went, but we'll get into it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to sort of, not necessarily briefly get into the match, but more briefly than I want to get into a lot of the other matches because there's so much to talk about on this show.
Right.
But we had this match. It went 26 minutes, which shocks me. It felt longer. Sorry.
I mean, I agree.
So we started off, and I was one of the apologists that was like, "Oh, we're starting off quite slow. That's fine. Give the crowd time to breathe after the chaos that we'd seen in the previous sort of 3-4 matches." But it just then kept going slow, and it was only really like you had a couple of spots. You had the spot where Mox ripped up the the ringside padding.
Yep.
And I think there was a back body drop in the end on the concrete. That got the crowd going a little bit. You had a spear to the outside, which was quite interesting. But the crowd and I think everyone watching only really started to perk up a bit once you got Christian coming down to the ring, cashing in his whatever you want to call it.
Hallowed be thy name, our Father.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Father, for giving us something to talk about at least. And so it was then made a triple threat match, which I think is very interesting. I think if it's an interesting way to go if this is the first of this stipulation that you're going to do in this company. I've gotta be honest. I hope it's the last. I don't know about you.
I like Money in the Bank stipulations, but I understand that people want AEW to be different than the competition. I will say just because you're different than the competition doesn't mean it's a good idea, or a bad idea. It just means it's different. But yeah, I like Money in the Bank. So Christian never having it or having it never bothered me. And the way that it all unfolded, I think, is objectively hilarious. And I love that some people are mad about it. I also think Christian had one of the best spots in the match where I know we're skipping ahead a little bit, but I won't say like whatever after. But like Mox has him in a chokehold, and he puts his hand on Cope's fucking chest to get a 3 count. I legitimately bought into the idea that Christian was going to win right there.
I thought that was it.
It was such an incredible. It was ingenious. I mean, it was like one of those moments where you remember that fucking casino gauntlet match where Orange Cassidy was in and Keith Lee and some other people. Best wishes to Keith Lee, by the way. When I think he used the ladder as like a platform, but like as like a horizontal platform, if I'm remembering correctly, to get really close to getting the title or whatever it was. And everybody popped because it was such an inventive spot. That's what this reminds me of. I could be misremembering things, but
no, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Was it the Face of the Revolution? That feels about right.
I think so. It was a brilliant spot. I still remember because it was such a well executed spot, and Orange was the perfect guy to do it because it gave you some hope that he would win it, and it was such a smart, creative thing. But yeah, Christian. I mean, he injected some new life into this match. Look, I am on the higher end in terms of my ratings for this match. I am a little bit of an apologist. This is how I generally see matches. I start at like kind of like a baseline expectation. So my baseline was like, okay, this is going to be like I said before, down and dirty, gritty, bar brawl kind of action, some blood. They're going to go to the outside. There's going to be some ref buffs and shenanigans. That's fine. I don't mind that in moderation. I expect it. It's fine. So I was like, okay, this is either going to be great at worst or it's going to be excellent. And for me, I still thought overall it was a solid match. I know some people think it was just fine. Some people think, I heard someone on Twitter say it was the worst main event in a decade, right? Somebody with a huge, like, not just some nobody, somebody who like tweets a lot and like has a lot of followers and shit. It's just like people
That's
are saying
crazy.
the craziest shit about this main event, and it's like I get that like it wasn't the same pace as everything else. I'm not saying it was a masterpiece. I'm not saying it was fantastic or whatever, but I had a decent enough time with it. I was entertained. Do I agree with the finish? No. Do I agree with who won? No. There's things I would have done differently. I would have had a slightly quicker pace, like you said, Adam. I did not like how slow it was in parts. I almost dropped down to like this is pretty good, but like, what are we doing here? But like the outside spots that we talked about before kind of saved it for me. The Christian Shin. We haven't even mentioned Yuta, who did come in at one point. Nor Jay White,
I,
who also came in at one point.
I really wish they hadn't done the Utah spot for the simple reason of you had a really interesting angle going into this that Utah will he won't he, and then it turns out
Swerve,
he
bro.
just
Swerve.
he yeah, but I'm sick of that spot. How many times have we seen
No,
in
I know.
AEW
That's
where
what I'm
it's
saying. It's a Vince. I hate saying this. I swear to God, I'm not saying like, oh my God, AEW's WCW 2000 or whatever bullshit. But like that kind of stuff is literally like I'm watching like Reliving the War on YouTube right now. Brilliant channel. And it's literally a Vince Russoism, like to just do that kind of spot over and over again. I don't mean every once in a while is fine. Obviously, swerves are fine, and swerving while you drive is also acceptable. But like, it's just I was like, I know he's looking right at Mox, so therefore he's going to attack like Cope. Like it's just 2 + 2 = 4, right? Like it just made a lot of
we've
sense.
seen it so many times. We've
Yes,
seen it
so many
out of
times.
Wheeler Yuta before, and we saw it with people like Daniel Garcia, and I'm sure I'm forgetting others. But
We saw it with
I just
Luchasaurus. We saw it with
yes, we
Luchasaurus.
saw it with
That's just a
Luchasaurus.
Luchasaurus too.
I
But
was
yeah,
I was in the building for that one. Um,
yeah,
like I don't know, but
yeah,
overall, I'm intrigued where they go, despite myself, because I think that my personal feelings are just put the belt on Swerve now.
yeah.
Like you have exhausted my goodwill to let this play out. Put the belt
Yeah.
on Swerve. It's
I think we had a promising build. I think things were shaping up really nicely. Pretty much most people were like, okay, Death Riders are pretty good now. Like, not great, not definitely not amazing, but it's better than it was. Maybe the best since Danielson. Somebody else said this, but I mean, the whole problem with the storyline is that you just can't top killing one of the goats, like one of the best of all time. It's really hard to top that, and that doesn't mean like the story was always doomed, but it kind of also does. Like I said, I thought the match was still great. I know that's controversial. I know a lot of people don't like it or thought it was terrible. That's
controversial in
fine.
this
I
podcast.
what's that?
I said it's controversial in this
It's
podcast.
controversial in this podcast, yeah, between just two people. I don't know exactly what your feelings were. I know they are not positive, Adam, but like, where were you on like, was it at least fine? Like, I can understand people are like, 3 out of 5, it was okay, but like, it should have had this or that. Like, I totally understand that.
My feelings broadly are it was an all-timer pay-per-view going into this match, and when I look back at this show, I will forget about this match. I might remember that Swerve comes out because hopefully it was the start of Swerve taking the belt off him. But overall, this was an entirely forgettable match for me,
Fair
and
enough.
it's so forgettable that I'm just
I
like, oh, can we move
I
on to the pre-show?
I don't disagree. Let's move on. Let's move on. I don't disagree.
So yeah, let's waste no more time on that. Let's let's talk about this pre-show. So it was an unusual pre-show. It's a 0 hour that was actually a 0 hour and a half. Which took me by surprise because I had planned my evening out based on a 0 hour, and then I was like, oh shit, Blake Christian's on. Which I'm sure popped you to know it.
Vanilla baby.
I know you are a grand Blake Christian
Ever
apologist,
since
so
he fucking edited that video, I've been a big Blake Christian fan.
So we started off the pre-show with a tag team match between Blake Christian and Lee Johnson, a Franken team if ever I saw one,
Yes.
uh, versus the definitely not Franken team of Commander and Hologram. Oh, I love Hologram. I'm so
Follow
happy that he got a
gang, rise.
Holo Gang. I'm so happy that he got a spot on this show, even if it is the
Yes.
pre-show. I just love
Yes.
every time I see Hologram. I just smile because he's so brilliant.
Can't believe Hologram got a spot, but the best wrestler alive didn't. SMH.
Yeah, on our prediction show, we talked quite at length about there's speculation that there's going to be a Max Caster Open Challenge
Yeah.
on this show. Now we
Nope.
have egg on our faces because
Yeah.
absolutely not. But regardless, I thought this was a nice, fun match. It got the crowd up, because obviously people were still filing into the building at this time, but the people who were there seemed to really enjoy it. I don't think that there's a chance in hell that Hologram doesn't get the crowd on their feet at least once in a match.
Yeah, I'm basically standing at attention like I'm commander at this point. Yeah, my not so hot take is that this was the best match of the pre-show. But it was really good. I just rewatched it for this because I was getting food during the pre-show, so I was a little flaky in and out. But I rewatched it this morning just to make sure that I could adequately talk about it. Yeah, really good synergy between Commander and Hologram. Lee is a great wrestler. I saw that Lee versus Fletcher match for the ROH TV title at Supercard of Honor, I think it was, or maybe it was, yeah, Supercard of Honor in Philly last year. The one where Mark Briscoe wins. But it's super good. Lee's very underrated. And then of course, I mean, I love my Vanilla Baby. Goddamn, I hope he comes out to that song one day. Honestly, kind of a banger. I mean, some of the lyrics are a little problematic because, of course, it is. It's a white rapper, but I do genuinely like that song and was singing that song to myself and to Kim, my partner, every now and then, and she would just roll her eyes and just I'd literally like, hey Kim, I got something important for you, and I'd be on my phone and I'd be like, I don't
Oh
like no
no.
whips and chains. Anyway, sorry. But we're I know we do not come to this podcast to hear me sing. God. I am so excited about this match though. It was really great. I loved it. I had a great time with it. I'm exactly that Lisa Simpson meme where it's like flippy shit and
Flippy
me.
shit.
Yeah, I give me it. I love it. I'm excited about it. It's part of why I watch AEW. I think it's part of why a lot of people watch AEW. So they got a lucha chant going. That was great. Just a lot of good communication. Blake actually took this nasty head
Yeah.
bump at one point on the corner. I was legit worried, but then like a minute later, he's like doing the fucking Generico go through the ropes through the corner fucking tope. I don't know what you would call it. And it was so cool. So yeah, I really like this match. Not a ton to talk about. Hologram and Commander, of course, pick up the win, as we all knew they would, but it
Yes,
was still fun.
yeah, as expected. I mean, shout out to Commander as well. Like we talk a lot
Yes.
about Hologram because he's fantastic, but Commander, I mean, talk about most improved in a 12-month period. Like the Continental Classic was a real showing out moment for him. Unfortunately for Juice Robinson, but we got this run of Commander now, and he's gone from it's Commander, cool, Lucha
Yep.
guy, to wonderful, there's a Commander match on this show.
That's right. We've gone from can't believe this fucking jobber's on my screen to oh my god, let's go, Commander.
Yeah, honestly. So shout out to him, fair play. Anyway, then we had sort of a bunch of talking on the pre-show, of course.
Yes.
Um, I don't want to talk about Young Gravy, but I suppose we kind of have
I was
to.
just about to say we had some old gravy that was pretending to be young.
Oh my god, that guy was drier than
He
bone.
was terrible.
It was
He is
awful.
not young gravy. He does not have the sauce. That man was talking and I'm like, this guy's an entertainer? Jesus Christ.
Honestly, Renee might be the best backstage interviewer of all time, just for salvaging that absolute car
She
crash.
is literally our contemporary Mean Gene. I don't even think that's a hot take anymore. Like she's so damn good and AEW got to pay her whatever the hell she wants.
Yeah, honestly, phenomenal work. fuck off, Young Gravy. Please never show up on my screen again. But yes, then we went into an 8-man tag team match in which we had Danny Garcia and the Undisputed Kingdom versus Shane Taylor Promotions. Another match where I'm like, I'm really glad Shane Taylor's getting a spot on this show because
Yes.
I dipped in and out of Ring of Honor, but Shane Taylor is just brilliant. He really is.
He's got so much legit aura. He's got such an intensity about him. I believe he has a boxing background that he uses quite often. He's just so good in the ring. He's got such a presence. I need him to be belted up with the quickness in ROH. I don't know what exactly. Maybe give him that world title and give the infantry the ROH tag title, since some people aren't doing shit with it. I just think that would be a great look to have ROH. I mean, Shane Taylor Promotions used to be ROH lore unlocked, actually, a core memory. But Shane Taylor Promotions, but one of the first times I ever watched ROH was one of the Halloween specials. And I believe this was right before Tony Khan bought ROH, and STP was a big part. They had different members, of course, but I think they had Kenny King and whatnot. But they were dominating ROH for a while. So yeah, give Shane Taylor the belt eventually. I think he could really run with it. We could run with it a hell of a lot better than Mr. Nueve.
I wouldn't. I want to talk about the rest of the people in this match, but I definitely wouldn't mind a sort of Jericho to Bandido to Shane Taylor trajectory for that belt. But I think we need to talk about first of all the match, because this was. I wasn't expecting a great deal. I'm not a massive fan of 8-man tags, except when they're on Dynamite and feature like all your best wrestlers. But this was a pretty good match. It went about 10 minutes. We had some really interesting sort of interactions. I want to talk about sort of briefly about the finish, where you had a really interesting interaction between Danny Garcia and Adam Cole, where Adam Cole had been working over Lee Moriarty. Shout out Tiger Star, by the way.
Yes.
And he was just about to hit the Panama Sunrise when Danny Garcia decided, no, actually, this is my time to get the win for this
very,
match.
very elite. As someone who's watching 2020 AEW right now for the first time, very elite coded move here, tagging your tag partner and not giving them the satisfaction, but also not like being outright hostile to them.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy. I still need to watch 2020 AEW again because
I did not start till Sting, so I got quite a journey in front of me.
But there's some gems there. But so you had Danny Garcia tag himself in and put Lee Moriarty in his sharpshooter thing. What does he call it?
I think he calls it like chasing the dragon or something, or maybe Dragon Tamer.
The Dragon Tamer. Thank you. Yes, I knew he had
chasing the dragon. I was thinking of Kyle O'Reilly and Roddy. I think one of their finishers was chasing the dragon.
I thought you were thinking about opium.
Jesus. No, I'm straight edge. I don't think about opium.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, so yeah, he puts him in the Dragon Tamer. Every member of STP tries to break it up, and every other member of the tag team takes them out. Lee Moriarty taps out, which is interesting to do to your Ring of Honor Pure Champion. I think
like that.
I don't mind it as much as I know some people did, because I think he was in that submission a long fucking time.
Yes.
So I just sort of think, well, you probably should tap out after that. I've been put in a sharpshooter. It's fucking painful. It hurts.
Yeah.
Lower back like hell. So I didn't mind it as much, but I agree with people that say, this could have been Carly Bravo.
I think I only care. Yeah, it could have been. I only really care because he was just pinned like the night before. I mean, kayfabe, the night before. So it just kind of, I don't like it, but it's just what they do with ROH champs. They did it with Fletcher. They do it with Commander, and now they're doing it with Tiger Style. Like, they just get these ROH champs pinned over and over. I don't know what exactly Tony's rationale is. I think it's because the finish focuses on them, and so therefore like they're raised in importance because they're the one who took. I'm not sure. It's kind of a weird,
Eh,
twisted logic to me, but I think that's the logic of some kind because they're constantly involved in the finish. It highlights them to a certain degree, even though they're getting pinned. And I mean, obviously, it's not the end of the world that he tapped. But I don't like it. I wasn't a fan, but I do agree with you overall. Pretty good match. One thing I want to note is very funny. The announcers always have the commentary team always have fucking amnesia that people can that smaller people can lift bigger people. Like they always act really surprised and like, oh well, Danny shouldn't try to lift Shane Taylor. He can't do it. And me in my head, I'm like, Hook lifted Big Bill. Like I don't know.
yeah,
This is such a Mark
and
nerd
I
nitpick.
was there for that, and the crowd did not pop the way that they wanted him to.
Yeah, yeah. But still, like you get my point,
Yeah.
right? Like it's weird that the
No,
announcers are like,
absolutely, yeah.
well, yeah, this is such a fucking Mark nitpick, and it doesn't actually matter. But it was a really impressive suplex all the same. I enjoyed it. I thought it looked great from Danny.
Yeah, to be fair, it was impressive that he managed to stall him for that long.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Not to mention the Shane Taylor leg drop. Thank you, Smoke. For just a lot of stuff with Shane was really cool. The infantry looked good. I liked them as heels. I didn't know if I would, but I like their kind of cocky, brash attitude. I love them shitting on Sean Dean because he does production work, so I know they're having a good laugh over that. It's good stuff. This was a good match, but we probably don't have much else to talk about.
No, only to say Adam Cole's definitely taking that TNT title.
Yes, he is with authority. I think somebody was talking a little too much, and that's all I'll say about that.
But yeah, so now we have to move on to the real main event of the 0 Hour, which is the man himself. I cannot help but just be excited whenever he's on screen because he gives it just 110%. It's
Chris
big
Jericho.
boom. Yeah, shut up. Oh God, do we have to talk about? Okay, we've not talked briefly about
look,
that.
the only reason I want to talk about it just for a split second is because Sean Ross Sapp was talking about how Bandito's mom thinks it's real and doesn't know it's a work, and she was crying. And on a rewatch, when she was crying, I honestly started laughing. I feel so bad. I'm so sorry, Bandito's mom. But it was fucking funny that you were crying because
It was very
it's
fun.
a work. But
In
yeah,
all honesty,
the angle was just a heat angle, and that's all that needs to be said
it
about
was an
that.
effective.
Really,
It was an effective heat
it was
angle.
effective for sure. Yes, I mean they called
I
him
always
I
get,
don't know what in Spanish, but they called him some kind of swear in Spanish. So
and I always get very I always get very angry when luchas get their mask ripped off because of the heritage and all that. So it was very effective. He
yeah,
obviously agreed to that, and it
right.
did its job very well. It built quite well to the eventual Bandito, I imagine, taking the title off him.
That means asshole.
Yeah, culero, asshole. Don't acknowledge the chat. But yeah, so good angle. But yes, now we need to talk about Big Boom AJ because let's go. I love this man. I really do. I know you don't, but I love this man. So we have Big Boom AJ and the conglomeration, Mark Briscoe and Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy on the pre-show is. I get that you couldn't really fit him onto the main card. I think if you're going to fit him onto the pre-show, this is where you do it because this is what's going to have all the eyes on him. And Orange Cassidy is brilliant. But anyway, the conglomeration, Mark Briscoe and Orange Cassidy with Big Justice and oh my God, the Rizzler coming out in full Orange Cassidy cosplay. I pop like a motherfucker. I can't lie to you.
Yeah. I'm bringing the doom to this match. But no, seriously, I thought that was also a good little moment there. I thought it was cute. It's a very accessible cosplay, and I like that he did it. There were some fun moments in this match that we'll talk about, but you go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they defeated. Surprise! I don't think Big Boom AJ is
Who could
losing
have
on
seen this
television
coming?
anytime soon. They defeated Johnny Television and MXM Collection. Very happy that MXM got on this card
Yes.
because my boys,
Yes.
and they made the most of everything that they got. This match is really good. Every time, I know he's only wrestled 2 matches, but both times Big Boom AJ has been in the ring, it shocks me just how good of a wrestler he is. Like he gets it. It's incredible.
Yeah. I'm not I find his gimmick annoying, and I do not like the gimmick. And I will poke all the eyes. I'm just gonna be straightforward. I'm gonna poke all the eyes that this gets on the product. But I'm not gonna deny. I'm not gonna deny that the dude obviously cares. He obviously puts in the work. He obviously is a promotional machine. I absolutely respect all that and appreciate that. There are people who do not like this gimmick that I find fucking insufferable and make me want to like the gimmick just to spite them. But overall, yeah, it's not for me. But and certainly wasn't for me at Full Gear when I had one of his friends yelling in my fucking ear about how awesome he was. I was like, Jesus Christ, shut up.
Trying to bring the boom.
Ugh, bringing the boom to my, I was like Swerve. I felt like I had a fucking ruptured eardrum. But anyway, yeah, Big Boom looked good here. An impressive looking Uranagi. The power boom looked good. They did the shield boom, basically. I mean, they didn't do it through a table, but I actually thought commentary called it the shield boom or something because everybody in chat was like shield boom, and I was like, well, there's no way chat. At the time, chat was that smart to come up with that organically, but no, I guess they were. But yeah, it was a fun match. There were some fun spots. One of my favorite moments is when Mansoor takes the cookie away from the Riz. Oh God, fucking, I hate this goddamn sentence. Mansoor takes the double chocolate chunk cookie or whatever the fuck from shut up, Adam, from from the Rizzler or Big Justice, and then I think it's the Rizzler, and he starts to eat it, or no, he throws it on the ground, and the crowd boos him out of the building. And then Orange Cassidy like sticks it in his mouth, and he's like spits it out. He's like, "I'm on a diet," which is just phenomenal.
Not only is he on a diet, he's observing Ramadan.
Exactly. I do believe it was a Ramadan. I was just about to say it was a Ramadan reference. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that's great stuff.
On the Rizzler.
I popped big time for that. I also popped for when Big Justice did the fucking power boom from the apron. All right, hate my life, but yeah, it was good. I think Mason did like 90% of the work there, but it looked good is the important thing, and the crowd went crazy for it.
Shockingly, a kid did not legitimately powerbomb a former NFL player.
I know.
But yeah, I thought this was really good fun. I think Big Boom AJ matches seem to have this formula about them where it is just good old-fashioned fun wrestling. Like it is a throwback to like the 80s sort of, they're doing all the classic spots and it works because this crowd is so into them. Sorry, Dory. They are.
I'm not denying. I am not denying what my ears hear and what my eyes see. I'm just saying that not really for me. But hey, I'm genuinely glad other people enjoy it. Wrestling shouldn't just be about one thing. That's what I like about AEW is that it's a melting pot. I think that's when wrestling's at its best, when it's not just one style like other promotions, certain other promotions that won't be named can be. But like, I do. I mean, I think that's when it's at its best. The best ECW pay-per-views were the ones, for my money, were the ones that had the melting pot. They had some really physical gimmick matches, which of course everyone remembers, but they also had the RVD versus Jerry Lynn kind of matches too. And
also
matches.
your lucha matches and stuff.
You're right, absolutely, yes. Rey Mysterio and Super Crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah. It was good. It was actually, I have it as a pretty good rating, which I couldn't believe, and that's mostly because Big Boom AJ didn't get involved till the end, or a couple spots in the middle. I think they used him very smartly. For the most part, it was Briscoe, it was Orange, They used everyone very well here, and I think this is about as high as a rating as I'm willing to give this kind of match.
Absolutely. I really
Oh,
like
and
this.
to be
And
clear,
it's
I like goofiness in my wrestling, so I'm not anti-goofiness before anybody thinks that. But yeah, anyway, that's the match.
that is the match. And it sets us up really nicely to go into this main card. We've already talked about the main event, so let's start at the beginning. And we start very hot. Very, very hot indeed. We have Hangman Page versus MJF. And we were going into this thinking this could be match of the night.
Yep.
Like, legitimately, this could be the match to steal the show. I'm not sure it ended up being that, not for any fault of the match, just because we will get on to some of, for my money, the best matches I've ever seen in my life. But this match was really good. I'm intrigued to know what you think about. I mean, we'll get into the finish and who won. I'm intrigued to know what you think about that because we had some speculation on the
Yeah.
pre-show. I mean, we all went
I
for. Go on,
Yeah,
carry on.
for MJF, right? Yeah, I remember. I was going. I wasn't really sure who was winning this, but my gut tells me I was going for Hangman, but I don't know if that's just me being selective memory. But this was one of the matches I was most hyped about. These are two of my
Absolutely.
favorites. I know not everyone's a fan of Max, but I will. At this point, I'm pretty much dug myself a trench. I'm pretty much defending Max no matter what he does at this point because he's just like I'm biased and I'll admit it. I just think Max has done a lot. He's earned his rep at this point. He's earned his place on the card. I think he is an incredible heel. He was a good babyface for a while. We will not talk about the rest. And then, I just had such high expectation. I mean, you look at these two guys. They had one fucking match in 29, and it wasn't even a good match. I literally watched it
No,
like a
it was
month
a
ago.
crap match.
It's not even that good of a match because the guys just weren't where they are now. This is what that match should have been back in 2019. It was incredible. Heyman's one of the best of all time at this point. Max is one of my favorites. I just think they have such good chemistry. Bullet with a name on it. Can we talk about that promo package?
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up.
Unbelievable. As soon as Max said, I got a bullet with a name on it, and it says Hangman, Hangman, Hangman. I'm like, that's got to be a non-point reference. There's no fucking way. Look, I legitimately love non-point. I got into them actually because of SmackDown versus Raw 2007 or whatever the fuck it was that they were on the soundtrack. And then years later, I went back. I listened to their first few albums or so. I mean, To the Pain is one of the best new metal albums of all time. Anyway, I know I'm sorry, but anyway, yes. So, it just the whole thing was really good. Non-point's so good. I mentioned the competition. I'm sorry, but yeah, I was so hyped for this match. I thought this was going to be my match of the night. I thought this was going to be a match of the year, match of the decade. It's pretty much perfect, or about as close as you can get. I think if they had another 5 minutes, I would have given this the full 5 stars. I think they just needed a little more time to sell everything, to work everything out, and to get to. I'm fine with the finish. I don't mind the finish, and I definitely don't mind who won. But yeah, not quite 5 stars. So yeah, for me, it's it's not it didn't end up being my match tonight, but it was still incredible. I mean, just incredible stuff. But yeah, Adam, what'd you
It
think?
really was. It really was brilliant. There were a couple of spots that I want to mention before we sort of go over the overall thing of the match. First of
Yes,
all, there's a spot early on in this match where Max is doing early on in this match when Max is doing his heel shtick. You know,
right.
he's doing that sort of strutting, and it looks like Hangman's on his knees. It looks like he's about to, do that whole poke in the eye and go to the crowd and yuck it up and whatever. Thrust his dick right in Hangman's face.
Right in the penis.
It
And
really was.
I know the somebody backstage was really jealous about that. I
Sorry,
know
carry on.
specifically who too.
What did you say?
Um,
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I said I know one person in particular, perhaps an interviewer, was very jealous that Hangman got that kind of attention. I won't name names, but you know.
Sorry, I missed that. I was just laughing
No,
my
it's
head off.
fine. We're both gonna talk over each other because we're so fucking excited about the rest of this card. So
It's just brilliant.
yeah,
It caught me completely off guard. And
it
there's,
was so good.
I mean, there were some really sort of brutal spots in this match as well. Like
DDT that
um
Max gave Hangman looks so good.
it really did. I just thought that I thought he was dead, and then
Yes,
Hangman rises from the dead and says, "No, you want dead? I will give you fucking dead." Because then, towards the end of this match, we've had the story of Christopher Daniels threaded throughout the story of this match, this
yes,
this feud, and it all paid off perfectly here when,
yes.
right at the end of the match, Hangman he gets him in the double underhook, and I'm thinking, I've been conditioned by Will Ospreay. I'm just like, is he going for a fucking Tiger Driver? And then, of course, no, I'm an idiot because he hits him with possibly the most brutal angel's wings
Right
I have ever
on
seen
his
in my life.
fucking face, dude. Right on his face. I saw that. I was like, ooh.
It was it was gnarly. It was just absolute like an angel's wings, it doesn't look fun to take anyway. Even
Right.
if you take it on like your chest or whatever, it doesn't look fun. But his face just gets absolutely smushed right into the canvas. I thought, yeah, I thought it knocked him out.
Yeah,
Like, I can't believe it didn't knock him out because
I
good
know.
grief.
Yeah. Look, I want to talk about my favorite spot of the match.
By all means,
I
yes.
love when Max drops the facade for just a second.
Yes.
He's such an insecure person at his heart, and people don't understand that. And there's a funny comment. Again, I'm not rewatching, but watching for the first time the 2020 AEW stuff, and I think there's a comment someone makes about like on commentary, maybe Excalibur or somebody, but they're like, you wonder how much that bravado is just surface level and down below like he's insecure or whatever. I'm paraphrasing, but
Mm,
it's been so true in the past 5 years. And the moment I'm talking about, I think you already know, is the
yeah.
one where Hangman beats the 10 count. He gets in just at like 9.999 ad infinitum, and Max just starts crying and he just breaks down and he's like, "Why him? Why isn't it me? Like, why won't you
yeah.
love me?" And I just think it's so fucking brilliant because they did love him, but then he self-sabotaged, which I have absolutely no personal experience with. And it's just such a fucking good moment where Max lets that evil facade slip for just a fucking second, and he's like, "All I want is for you people to love me the way I wish I loved myself." And it's like, Hangman doesn't need to do anything to get that. Everything he does is right. Everything he does is justified. Hangman was never wrong, by the way. And
Of course.
I just like I feel for Max on one hand, but on the other hand, it's like you deserve what you get. You know what I mean? So it's perfect. It was my favorite part of the match. It brought me from laughing at him because he's crying to like kind of like a awe, like not awe, but you know what I mean, like kind of like
Yeah, I know
a
what you mean.
more emotional gut punch at the same time when you think about it. So just a
There are
beautiful
just
moment.
there are just so many layers to these characters, and you can strip them one by one. And this was a moment where
Jesus, we haven't even
all
gotten to
the
the Fletcher match, Adam. Calm down.
calm down, but you can just strip these layers back one by one and see just the pure motivations of these characters. And the
Yep.
motivation for Max, he, like you say, he can put on this bravado, he can put on all this. And it's only in the height of a match where he has faced this man who is everything that he wants to be, and he can't put him down to save his life. He is healing it up. He is throwing everything at this man, and he won't stay down. And it just breaks him, and he
Yes,
just snaps. All the layers fall apart, and you see right at the core, all he wants is to
absolutely.
be is to have what this man has, which is the
Yes.
adoration of the fans. He is crying, he is emotional. It's perfect. And
And it's
it's
not. This isn't. We should probably say at this point that Hangman wins.
yeah,
This isn't. I don't think this is the end. I think
no,
Hangman's going to be.
no,
There is no fucking way MJF lets this slide. Now maybe Hangman tries to go into the main event card. With a certain a certain whose house, but I don't think he's going to get there. I think Mac's going to cut him off the pass. I think that they finish this up like you guys were talking about. Zach specifically was talking about. I think they're going to do a Texas death match, literally in Texas. Finally, thank God, because that
yeah,
always bothers the fuck out of my autism. Yeah, they'll be in fucking goddamn Antarctica, and they'll be like a Texas death match. But anyway, literally in Texas, and I think that's where they finish the feud, and Hangman finally comes back into the main event. But obviously, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I just don't. My point is, I don't think MJF and Hangman are done. I think we're going to see
no.
more, and
I
I
think
can't wait. I can't wait.
yeah, I think there's so much more to explore. Yeah, we have explored so much about these characters and seen how they interact, and like I say, see how you can strip back all the facades of these people. I think there's so much more to go, and I'm so excited. But
Yes,
anyway, we must make
we
time
must move
because
on.
there's so much to talk about. Next up, we had the TBS title match that I was sneakily very excited for. I know people were criticizing the build. Oh, we only saw Momo Watanabe for like 2 weeks in one back, in a couple of
So
backstage
proud of you,
segments.
by the way, because I've heard some people pronounce Watanabe, and it just makes me fucking cry. I was actually listening with bated breath. I'm like, okay, how is Adam pronouncing Momo's last name? Then you say Watanabe. I'm like, that's my boy. Let's go, Adam.
Momo Watanabe. Um,
Yeah, Watanabe. Some people say fucking Watanabe. I'm like, stop. Anyway,
but no, but yeah, Momo Watanabe had been showing up a couple of times, and people were like, oh, but people in the know knew what this match was going to be,
mhm,
and it delivered in spades. They fucking killed each other.
yes,
Oh my god! I think the report coming out of this match, Momo had to walk out on crutches, I believe, and I think the report is that Mercedes had a bruised larynx, and I can tell you exactly when that happened. When Momo kicked her right in the fucking throat.
and I sincerely doubt there's any ounce of heat anywhere between them about this. I bet Mercedes fucking thrilled about that because that's a
Oh
fucking
yeah,
battle scar she can be proud about. She loves this shit. Watch her meal in a match. Mercedes the goat, by the way. Watch her meal
yes,
in a match, and her love of Joshi is just. I mean, it's palpable. I get excited hearing about wrestling just from her talking about it.
hmm.
She is just sensational, just getting you excited for wrestling. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think Mercedes was in her happy place when that happened because she's a sicko just like us.
absolutely. And this match is of all the matches that we will talk about, all the brutality that we saw, I think the most brutal thing I've seen on this entire show is that spot of just Momo kicking the shit out of her.
Yep,
Because you can put on a facade of, all these sort of weapons and stuff. You can gimmick them, make them safe. You can't gimmick someone kicking you in the fucking face.
right.
Like,
There were definitely a couple of moments towards the end where people are like, "Are we shooting here? Like, are
yeah,
we
yeah,
rooting, shooting, and shooting? Because these are stiff."
yeah. Honestly, it was just phenomenal, and I love I love this match, and it was everything I wanted it to be. Sorry,
Yeah,
I can wax lyrical about this all day, but I'm obviously the result was never in doubt.
right.
Mercedes was going to win this match. I don't think anybody seriously believed that Momo was walking away with the win here. But I think this was a real showing out moment for Joshi wrestling on a big stage in America, where people will now go, "Oh my god, Momo like kicked the shit out of her. That's awesome. Where can I see more?" And yeah, I'm really excited. I hope they get more Joshi people in. I think Mercedes will probably lobby for that backstage because, as you said, the woman the woman's love for Joshi wrestling is palpable and
Yeah.
obvious whenever she talks about it.
Joshi's kicking the shit out of each other. That's terrible, disgusting. Where is
Where?
this happening? By the way, I watched Stardom for at least about a year and a half or so. I don't watch it as much anymore. It's a lot to keep up with. But yeah, Momo always stood out to me just because of her style and the bat, of course. The Stardom doesn't really let her show out like this, so it's great to see her get a main event title. Because honestly, or not a main event, but like a big match feel for her. Because Stardom usually doesn't push her that much towards titles. Every now and then they do. I think she had a white belt match, I think, last year. But and that was great. But generally, Momo doesn't get to show out like this. And I'm really glad she was able to. I knew she could, but every now and then people are like, "Wow, Momo's incredible," and I'm like, "Is she?" Because like Stardom sure ain't like they're not treating her like she is, and they should be. By the way, she is amazing. But they had already had that Capital Collision match. I never saw it, but
It's a good match. You should see it.
yes, I heard very good things about it. So I am glad that she showed out here. It was a battle of the Meteoras at a couple point, and Momo also did the Three Amigos to right back to Mercedes. So they were kind of mirroring each other. They're having a little bit of a mirror match here and there. But yeah, the result was never in doubt. I think the only people who were delusional enough were maybe like huge Joshi / Momo fans who were like, it's her like 20 millionth title shot in a year. She's got to win one of these.
Yeah.
So, but she did not. And I
What I
don't know.
love,
God bless Momo for taking all these losses and still looking awesome.
honestly, what I loved about this match as well is that at the start you could tell that the crowd were sort of they weren't not into it, but you could tell that they were sort of okay. We'll see how this goes. And by the end of it, Momo had just absolutely captured it.
She was getting chance alongside Mercedes, and this was her second match. And I mean, it just proves to you the difference that AEW has, where you can get over with a crowd very quickly because of your in-ring ability. I mean, look at Hologram. We couldn't imagine AEW without Hologram. I'm sorry to bring up Hologram in a fucking women's match, but just really quickly, it's the same thing with Momo. She got over in just 2 matches just because of her abilities. God bless her.
Phenomenal. Anyway, now we have to talk about a match that I thought was going to be good. I didn't think it'd be this good. I thought it was, like I say, I thought brilliant. This is Swerve Strickland versus Ricochet for the number 1 contendership for the AEW World Championship. I went into this thinking, this will be a really good match. There's probably about sort of 4 or 5 matches on this card that I thought would be better than it. Oh my God. What a phenomenal match these two had. Honestly, superb. I want to get your thoughts on it, but just to say, the dramatism of Prince Nana during this match, the compelling just through line of the robe. I really love this match. I want to get your thoughts on it first. Carry on.
Incredible match. Up there with MJF and Hangman for me, appropriately enough. This is how you do kind of like interference angles or distraction angles. This is how you do it. You give it lots of gravitas. You give it good reasoning. You do it very sparingly. You make it all feel important. This is like textbook how you do these kind of angles without overdoing it and losing the crowd. They just beat the shit out of each other, and it ruled. The coat is fucking amazing. It looked so good. Ricochet recoloring it and all that stuff, redesigning it was brilliant. I was excited for that from the get-go. The way they handled Nana, like you said, ended up being kind of a double swerve. And 3 if you count Swerve himself. But yeah, it was just handled really well, and I am really glad that Nana is still with Swerve because they're such a dynamic pair. But yeah, let's talk about this match. Any really cool spots that you can think of?
Oh my God, there's one that had me absolutely sort of peeking through my fingers at the brutality of it, and that is it's sort of 2/3 through the match. They go to the outside. They've done a bunch of different spots on the outside that were really brutal, but there is one that I want to talk about, which is they get on the Spanish announce table, and
The
everyone's like,
other
"Oh,
announce table, please, Adam. The
the
other
other,
announce
the other."
table.
I know. Tony Schiavone was really like, "Yeah, you know what? Fuck the Spanish, get on there." But
They did that whole Inquisition thing. Fuck them. All right, sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
honestly, but they get on the table, and everyone's expecting, oh, what are they going to do? Is it going to be like a back body drop? It'll be awesome, whatever they do. Swerve picks this guy up, and holy shit, he twists him, and he delivers a vertebraker onto this announce table. This announce table that did not budge an inch. He took that
I
full
am
force.
the table. Like, that
Honestly,
fucking table did not care.
oh, it was brutal. The thud of Ricochet's neck hitting that table was just,
Yep.
oh, it went through me in the best way. It was phenomenal.
So good.
And you had, I one thing I want to bring up real quick. I really love the celebrity integrations on this show. I'm
Mhm.
not a big fan of celebrity integrations as a whole. But the best way to do it is show the celebrities A, sparingly, and B, liking what they're seeing. And you had people like Leslie Jones and Ken Jeong
Yes.
going nuts at the wrestling that they were seeing. I thought it was phenomenal. I bring it up because Ken Jeong was positioned right in between the two tables, and
He's a
he was
doctor, you know.
losing
I don't know
his.
if you know that, Adam. He's a doctor.
He is a doctor,
He
but
is a doctor.
he was losing his fucking mind at what he was seeing. I
He's
thought it was
always
spectacular.
there. Dude is absolutely like dub pilled. Like, my man is always there. If they're in LA, you can bet your ass that Ken Jeong is there. He fucking loves real pro wrestling. I love to see it. I loved Community, well, the first few seasons. And he's awesome in that. Yeah, he just seems like he's having a good old time. I was very happy for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. I completely agree with you. Not a huge fan of celebrity integration, and that's exactly why I don't like. Oh, I'm getting the cue
Oh,
to not say that again. Sorry.
we all
But
know what you're thinking.
yeah, we all know. But I did really appreciate the way that they did this. I thought that was great. Oh, and Leslie
Yeah,
was fucking going nuts. It was awesome.
just losing her mind. It was brilliant. But I want to talk about the finish of this match real quick.
Yes.
So you had eventually match unfolds, brilliant match, and you have it that Ricochet is sort of on his knees, calling Swerve, bring it on, and Swerve hits two house calls, and everyone in that arena thinks, "Oh, brilliant, here we go." And he kicked out, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Oh, what do you mean he kicked out?" And at
Yeah.
that point, you start thinking, "Oh my god, are they actually going to? Is Ricochet winning this match?" I popped out of my chair
There
when,
is multiple situations where I bet, and I'm just like, oh my god.
yeah, and the near falls in this match was superb. Everyone got me, but then after the two house calls, Swerve gets him up, hits him with the big pressure, which I really appreciate because you should, outside of literally the main event of Wembley Stadium, you should be protecting that move.
Right.
It's a world ender, and he hits
Yes.
him with the big pressure. 1, 2, 3. Swerve Strickland is your number one contender for the AEW World Championship.
And to be
Brilliant
fair,
stuff.
they're absolutely absolutely brilliant. And to be fair, his house call is just a signature move, right? It's not his finisher. He has won matches with it in the past, but usually that's with either people from other companies. Like, I think he beat oh, I'm forgetting his name. We have Hangman at Home, which is such a
Clark
disrespect.
Connors.
Clark Connors. Clark Connors. He's great, by the way. I'm
I didn't
joking.
I didn't know who you mean until you said what you said.
Yes. I believe he beat Clark like that too. And he's won a couple other matches with the house call, but it's not actually his finisher. His finisher is the big pressure or maybe the swerve stomp, depending on who you ask or what
I
match it
love
is. But
versatility in
yeah,
finishes, by the way.
yes, I do too. Um, And yeah, it was such a good false finish. I thought this match was incredible. I'm doing the pose right now, putting my hands up in the air. This match was incredible. This rivalry is one of AEW's best. I know we're talking whose house, but we better start talking about who's Mike, because Ricochet, like
Brilliant.
he's
He's
getting
done
good on
so
that
well.
mic, or maybe he was good the whole time. Just certain companies maybe didn't give him
Mm,
a shot. Something to think about,
think
something to
about it.
ponder, much to consider.
But yes, so we should move on. We've been talking for
Yes.
like an hour, and we still have
Oh my
5
God.
matches to go.
I got one
But
thing to say about
I don't
that.
care.
Ah,
I don't care.
okay. Anyway.
I don't care. So then we moved on to a match that I was quite looking forward to. And so we've got, I should say, Kazuchika Okada versus Brody King for the
Yes.
AEW Continental title.
Yes.
God, Okada has so much aura about him on that
Yeah.
entrance, doesn't he?
Mm.
I love
The
I
fucking
love the
lasers, I
laser
love it.
edition.
Before I forget, every time I'm a huge nerd, video game nerd, like every time he does the lasers thing, which he's done only twice now, I get like big Kingdom Hearts 2 flashbacks, because at the end of the game you're like fighting off a bunch of lasers and shit. But yeah, Laser Okada, best Okada. Like it's so good, dude. He looks amazing. The lighting looks amazing. Yeah, it's just a good fucking entrance for a great fucking wrestler, a comedy wrestler who has been forced to lock in for the rest of his life, who just wants to be a silly, goofy guy and have fun with his friends. And life said, nah, you got to lock the fuck in and we got to do this. And he's like, all right,
Yeah,
if I have to.
cursed to be the greatest of all time.
That's right.
But Brody showed out really well in this match as well. I want to highlight a couple of things that happened in this match. First of all, Brody just chopped the fuck out of him. Oh my god.
You
He
could see that those red marks from fucking space.
It was ridiculous. There was a welt on Okada's, I think it was his right arm, that was it was glowing. It was ridiculous. The man took an absolute punishing in this match. And fair play. This match only went like pardon me. This match only went like 11 minutes. It does not feel like that because this man just gets beaten to fuck. It is spectacular, spectacular stuff.
It's funny. Every time Brody goes for that sorry, eating some cantaloupe. Every time Brody is going towards that wall, I get scared for the AV feed.
Yeah.
Because we haven't mentioned it yet. Triller was fucking on us. I have never had
Oh
issues
yeah.
with Triller in my life, and it kept fucking kicking people out and shit. Every time Brody went to go splash on the wall to Okada, I'm like, oh my god, please don't cut the feed. Please don't somehow cut the feed. Because he's done it. He's done it like 2 or 3 times. He even acknowledged it on Twitter. That's how many times
Yeah.
it's happened. Big Brody King indeed.
But what's crazy is every time he goes for that running slash against like the barricade, um, I always expect people to move because I think if he hits you with that, you'll die. And the first time he goes for it, Okada does move and he hits the barricade, or he might pull up. I'm not entirely sure. But the second time, he runs full pelt at Okada, and I'm thinking, move, Kazuchika, you're gonna die.
I thought he
No,
was gonna move too.
and no, he just hits him full force. He just splats him against this barricade. I'm thinking, how has that not caused just massive blunt force trauma in your chest? How the fuck
I'm
are
so
you still
tired of people
standing?
online with their fucking trash takes about Okada saying that he doesn't care, or he's not working, or he's not trying. Bro, if he did not care, he would not
All you need
take
to
that kind of bump. He does not
all
have
you
to
need to
take
do
that
is
from
look at
Brody.
his chest.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah, so there were some really good spots in this match. Okada took the cannonball, which, again, looks like it fucking sucked. But in the end, a nice 11-minute match, really good stuff. Okada wins with the Rainmaker, one Rainmaker, which I appreciate. I appreciate the concerted effort to protect the
I
Rainmaker
think the
as
only
a
person
world-ending finisher.
the only person who's kicked out is Ospreay, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
they've had like 10 million fucking matches with each other and known each other for 10 years. So if it makes it's kind of a Kenny situation if it makes sense. Oh, Buddy as well. If it makes sense for anybody to kick out of it, it would be Ospreay.
Yeah, absolutely. But yes, we should make time, and we will make time with this next match because I don't want to preempt this by moaning about it. I don't think there's a great deal to say on this. This is the AEW World Tag Team Title match between the Hurt Syndicate and the Outrunners. Now, okay, not every match on this card can be a world ender. But I will preface this by saying, um, I this match, I don't think it worked the way they wanted it to work. I think I'm again. I'm curious to know what you think. But this match went nine, rounded up. It went 9 minutes. You could have cut six of them out. I think.
Yeah,
What? Carry
Adam, if you're anything like me, and I know I am,
on.
I'm a huge Outrunners mark. I'm not gonna sit here pretend like they're amazing wrestlers. They are not. I've slowly come to accept that okay, their gimmick's really good, but they shouldn't be in pay-per-views. And the crowd loves them, so I don't think it was a bad idea to put him here. But yeah, this match should have been shorter. I still thought it was solid overall. I still liked it. I had a good time with it. There were some spots. Obviously the "you son of a bitch" spot always pops me. I thought there were some good ways to protect the Outrunners while still making Hurt Syndicate look really strong. Obviously throwing Bobby into the steel stairs. Um, but yeah, overall, I mean, probably this in the main event was probably the weakest matches on the card. For me, they're still
Yeah,
both solid, but I, completely understand thinking that this went long. I thought this was going to be a bit shorter.
yeah. I think this could have gone 4 or 5 minutes shorter than it did. I
Yes,
think
I
that
agree.
there's a lot of chat that you could cut from this match and still have the same sort of outcome and the same story being told. I expected more of a squash, and I understand why they didn't because the outrunners are over, and you want to showcase them a little bit more, though not that much. Uh, the problem for me with the outrunners is I'll briefly touch on this because again we have a lot to talk about. The problem for me is they have turned into a bit of the more I've seen of them, they've turned into a bit of a and then the bell rings sort of situation. In a
Yeah,
company where there is a baseline standard of wrestling, I think, where if you want to be pushed, if you want to be champion, especially, you do need to meet that. And I just don't think they do. And it's fine. It's nothing, it's not a slight on them. Not everyone is cut out to be a sort of Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega style wrestler, but you need to give me something more if I'm gonna lock in completely on you, and I don't think they have that. But
mm,
it was a match. The Hurt Syndicate won. I don't think anyone expected the Outrunners to win, or if they did, they should probably get checked out. Um, but it was
yeah.
it was it
I,
was a
I
match.
enjoyed it for what it was, which wasn't a ton, but was enough for me. I kept my expectations in check. I'm like, this is going to be maybe a pretty good match or a great match, not much more than that at best.
Hmm.
It was entertaining. I had fun. I feel like this was the perfect cool down match for the rest of the card. And it
Yes.
was placed in a good spot. So I'm not going to be that critical of it. I think it had an important Jericho-sized hole to fill. And it was no one take that out of context. And it did its job admirably. I enjoy the Outrunners. Let's probably not put them back on a pay-per-view again.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it as well. But I agree with you. It was a good cool down match because, god damn, you needed the crowd to be hot for what was coming next. And holy shit, I'm so excited to talk about this. Next was the Hollywood ending match, the women's world title match between Toni Storm and Mariah May. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it. the best women's match I've ever seen in my entire life.
Get ready. Dory Meltzer has a hot take. 5 fucking stars. Let's go. The best women's match I have ever seen in my fucking life, and I have seen at this point in my way too long of life, seen many women's matches, and I am stunned. I mean, this is match of the year candidate. This is goes so far beyond that. This was incredible. I don't know. There's so many words.
There are not enough words in the English language for me to describe how incredible this match was. What I love about this match, and I said this at the time, and I'll say it now. This didn't need to be 30, 40 minutes long. This needed to be absolutely all out, balls to the wall, fucking kill each other wrestling. And they accomplished it
on their fucking taped up hands. I mean, it's just like, what can you even say about this match? Like, they did everything. Like, there was a power bomb to the table like Willow took in like the first 2 minutes of the match. Like, it took them, I think, almost 5 minutes just to get into the ring. And Luther was out after almost like a minute, and I thought he was legitimately hurt. Like, that was where we started. That was the bar.
Luther took the funniest fucking bump over
another
that table.
I am the table spot. That table didn't give a fuck.
No, but the champagne glasses landed on him sure did.
Oh,
fuck
God.
me.
Yeah, that's true. Fuck.
Oh my God, this match. There were so many things there were so many things to talk about in this match. That, like you say, the table spot in the first 2 minutes, and then it's like through sheer hatred. Like that spot would take people out for minutes at a time in a normal wrestling match. Through sheer fucking hatred, they are up in like 30 seconds and they're going at it again, and they brawl and they kill each other. You know, if you want to talk about the glass spot now, because Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, I mean, it was. First off, I had no idea what the fuck was happening. So they get out these pails, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's probably like tax or basic sugar glass or something like that. No, it's champagne bottles with ice and glass, and they're sticking their hands in there like it's fucking Saw 2, and it's just like they just start fucking punching each other. And by this point, by the way, Tony is a bloody mess. She is looking like mid 2000s Blade Job. Like, if you know, you know. Like, it's crazy.
I forget which spot I think it's when she takes. That's another thing. She takes a Storm Zero on the steps in like minute 4 of this match.
Right. They haven't even made it to the steps, to the ring. And they cut away from Tony, and I'm saying to Kim, I mean, I kind of knew too, but I was like, yeah, they're cutting away from her so she can blade. And then we come back to her, and I'm like, oh my God, like, she bladed.
She hits a fucking gusher on that thing. Like, you talk about the Muta scale, no disrespect to Keiji Muto, it's the Tony scale now. Like, holy shit. That woman bled pints of blood for us in this match. She, like, when they came out, they both came out. Well, Mariah came out especially in white, but Tony came out. She had a bit of white on her, and you were thinking, oh, well, that's because it's the Hollywood ending. No DQ, they're going to bleed. I expected to fucking bleed this much. Good Lord.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, it was spectacular.
It was a crimson mask if ever there was one. It was done so well. There's a clip of her trying to get some of it off her face. Like, even she knows she overdid it a little bit. But
there's a moment where the camera sort of zooms in on her, and you can see her thought process. Like, oh, I may have fucked this one up. Actually,
I may have done a little too deep. It was so good. I don't know what really else there is to say about this. This should have main evented. This should have been it. Literally at the end of the match, where Tony beats Mariah, it literally says the end. This would have been a happy note to send the audience home on to. It would have been a very satisfying note. It would have been a very quick main event, sure. I'm sure that would have started some stupid discourse. But at the same time, it's like, it felt so appropriate to give them that, even though they got it on Australia one. I just think they did tremendous, amazing, incredible, superb, blah blah blah. I mean, all the positive adjectives that you could imagine for this one match. I'm sure there are spots we are missing. Adam, is there anything
Yeah.
else you want to highlight from this match?
Yes, there is something else I want to highlight, which is it might be, it's one of them, obviously it's one of them, but one of them brings out the shoe.
Yes.
And I mean, if there is a running sort of MacGuffin in this story, it is the shoe. And at one point, I think they're on the top. I think they're on the top of the stage. You know where it all began, really. This
Right.
rivalry with Mariah May turning and whacking her with the belt, with the Owen Hart belt at the top of the stage, and they just absolutely bludgeon each other with this shoe. And I want to talk about the finish as well. I think the finish was spectacular because you have, you know, they are beaten to fuck. They are spent, but Tony just has that grit in her, and she storm zeros Mariah May at the top of the stage, and she goes for the pin, and she is just hugging her for dear life because
I'm so
despite
glad that we got Toxic Yuri and Toxic Yowie on the same pay-per-view. Truly the best wrestling company of all time.
honestly, and despite everything that has gone on, there is, there's a promo after this match
Yes.
that was on socials, and they asked Tony, how are you feeling after that match? And she just says, I miss her already, because they will forever be intertwined. These two women will forever be interlinked in the story, the history of professional wrestling for this phenomenal rivalry that they have put on for us. I'm in awe of both of them. It's just spectacular. It really is. And I'm reluctant to move away from it because there's so many emotions with that rivalry, but we have to, because we have to talk about the two matches that are left, because oh my god, we have been thoroughly spoiled as wrestling fans, because up next we have the AEW international title match of Konosuke Takeshita and Kenny Omega. This was the match that I was most excited for going into it, despite myself, because I can't help it. As much as I adore Tony, Mariah, Ospreay, Fletcher, MJF, Hangman, it's Kenny Omega. I can't help but get the most hyped about Kenny Omega, especially in a match against Konosuke Takeshita. And I thought they worked this match. I want to shout out Ibu, despite myself, on this one, because he called it. He said, I know. But back when this match was announced, he was like, I don't want this to be a spot fest. I want this to be a gritty, old man Omega type. He has to battle through this younger, hungrier competitor to eke out a victory. And it's exactly what they did. It was
I'm glad you brought his
match.
tweet up, because I also had it in mind when when the match was happening, because I was like, wow, they're literally doing this. I mean, he even tweeted later on that he books this. He said another word. I don't think I'll use that word. But he says that he books it, and good for you, Ibu. Glad you got some work. That sounded way more sarcastic than I intended. But anyway, I am genuinely glad they did it, like he said, and take a victory lap on that one. It was well done. I didn't need it to be like that, but I thought it would have been smart. It plays to Kenny's strengths and weaknesses. He's got the Danielson playbook at this fucking point. This whole match was me cringing on the inside, like just being like, oh god, Kenny, please be okay, please stop, please don't, no, don't do that, please don't do that, Kenny, please. And it's just me, and then it's just me saying like, but can I have some more? Like, it's sick.
Yeah.
It's fucking sick, and I love it. It's like, it's just an amazing match where you're just like, Kenny, please don't do that, please. Oh my god, why? It's the Danielson playbook. You know, we know that to some extent it's a work, but we know to some extent that it's not a work, and we don't know how much is which. Because Kenny's
Yeah.
such a generational worker, is such a once in a lifetime kind of athlete and wrestler and performer that we don't always know how much he's selling and how much he's not. You know, you cannot tell me that after that match, there's no way he wasn't at least a little banged up. It was an incredible. It was slow in parts, but I think this was a match that used the slow in parts very well and was able to do that to enhance the rest of the the package here that you got from this match. It was so good and so well done. Um, yeah, at one point I was just like, it's 5 stars, and then a couple times I'm like, Kenny, buddy, it's 5. You can stop. Like we're
Yeah.
done. Like this, you've peaked, bro. Like we were like 15 minutes in or something. I don't remember exactly how much it was in. I think he just did deliver like a V trigger or something. That was so perfect. I'm like, I'm just seeing stars at this point. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said, I couldn't agree more. There's there's a spot in this match, going back to what you said about, his selling and us being very worried about him. He's like you say, he's got the Danielson playbook down. He knows how to hurt his audience, because there's a moment in this match, they pull out the table early on in this match, and the old adage is, it's Chekhov's table. It's going to be used. But they use this table in such a way that freaked me the fuck out, because
I fucking thought that they were gonna put Kenny's stomach or gut or whatever on
yeah,
the one of the fucking legs of the chair. I was free. I was like, no, please, 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 please.
yeah. First of all, they lay the table flat, down, upside down, so that
Yes.
the legs are sticking up, and immediately
Yeah.
you think, oh no, oh fucking hell, what are you doing? And then they hit a suplex. I think it's Takeshita that hits the suplex on Omega, and he misses it by millimeters. And I cringed. I was like, I couldn't watch, because I knew what was coming. I
He
knew
was
that
yelling.
I knew that obviously that I knew that obviously he wasn't actually going to get fully impaled by the legs. But you just think, oh no,
It's
are you
worse
that
because you
fucking
can imagine it, right? Like
yeah?
it's
You
implied.
think, are you that fucking crazy? And the answer is obviously yes, because it's Kenny
Yes.
Omega.
No, I mean, there's
But
literally a picture of Kenny Omega with his face through a fucking table, and just smiling like a fucking lunatic in that Ospreay match at
yeah,
in
oh,
2023.
guys,
It's just uh
but then they flip the table onto its side, and Takeshita hits. I don't know what the technical term is. A suplex, but you drop them on their stomach,
yeah,
and Kenny,
like a gut buster or something. I don't know.
yeah, like a gutbuster suplex type deal.
Yeah.
And Kenny hits the table, the sharp edge of the table, right on his stomach, and I yelled. I probably woke someone up, because it was like sort of
I almost certainly did.
three.
I think I yelled no, like
I think it was about
I
3 o'clock in the morning. But
yeah. Yeah, no, it was starting to get late for us too on the East Coast and in the US.
oh,
Yeah,
you don't know what
this match
late
was
is
so
with pay-per-views.
this match was
I
so
just
brutal.
suffer.
This match was so brutal, and it was beautiful. I mean, I'm third time, fourth time I mentioned it, but seeing Kenny in 2020, I mean, and he was still dealing with vertigo back then. I don't
Yeah.
think he was dealing with diverticulitis yet, but he was dealing with vertigo. So it's still insane what he's doing, but he's so fluid. His snapdragons, his V triggers, everything he does, the Hurricane Ranas, and they're still so good. Now, I'm not going to say that they're the same. They don't have the same quickness, snap to them, but they're still so good. The way he positions them, the way he paces them out, the way that he just sells the move. I mean, it's beautiful. It's just a fucking work of art. Hang it in the
Mm.
Louvre. It's just like unbelievable. This man and his work ethic and the way that he has gotten to where he is and how he's still there despite losing inches of his intestines or
I
whatever.
know that
Like,
there were multiple times in this match where I'm screaming at him, you know you had diverticulitis, right? Like,
yeah,
fucking hell. I
yeah.
love you. Stop hurting yourself. Oh,
But yeah, the when he started doing the snapdragons and the V triggers, I was popping out of my seat. I was already at 5 stars, but I was popping out of my seat. I was like, "This is amazing! This is incredible!" You know, Takeshita
yeah.
did the big Blue Thunder Bomb, the least devastating move in all of sports entertainment. I was like, I wonder if he even gets a one. Kenny, of course, did do the one spot at one point. I thought that was
Ooh,
great.
and the
The
crowd went
whole
wild for it.
crowd blew up for that spot, and that was great. It was just a tremendous match. I gave it the full five
Hmm.
stars. And
I want to talk about the
yeah.
Okay, sorry. I thought you. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was running out of steam. I was like, what other amazing thing can I highlight here?
I want to talk about the finish briefly because I think this match was a response to everyone who said that AEW doesn't do selling. This is some of the best selling I've ever seen in a
Yes.
wrestling match ever. And I want to talk about the finish because it plays into that. Because Kenny he doesn't have the match won, but he's on top and he goes for the one-winged angel and he can't hit it because his stomach, his core has been so thoroughly destroyed by Takeshita that he just can't get him up for it. And there you see the genius of Kenny Omega to be able to, and I hate this word, but it's appropriate in this match, to be able to pivot and to be able to overcome his limitations that he suffered in this match to get the win, not through the one winged angel, not through any spectacular Kenny Omega esque, theatrics, gets him with a crucifix pin. And I thought that was just masterful.
It
I thought
was
it was
brilliant. Also, I
brilliant.
am calling 911 on you for using that word.
I know.
But
I know.
I can't believe you. Yeah, it was beautiful because that's exactly how Takeshita beat him at All In.
Yes.
And it was so good. The way that they did that, the way that they connected everything, long term story. Here's a word you can call 911 on me for long term storytelling, Adam. Um,
Boo.
but yeah,
But yes, you are completely right.
yes. I mean, I sincerely doubt they didn't have that planned out. But yeah, knowing those two. But yeah, I mean, amazing match. I don't really think there's much more to be said.
No, spectacular. And it led into now
All right, Adam,
controversial opinion.
steal yourself. Steal yourself.
Controversial opinion here, based on everything we have spoken about to this point. Match of the night for me.
Wow.
Incredible. Better than Omega and Takeshita. Better even than Tony and Mariah.
Wow.
It's a hair's length or a hair's breadth rather, but it's spectacular. Will Ospreay and Carl Fletcher in a steel cage, and oh my good God alive! This match, they saw the brutality of Tony and Mariah and said, okay, more. How about we just do more? And oh, these two men, who we know that they are the best of friends, and it is always the way in wrestling that the best of friends make the most fantastic of wrestling rivals. And these two have put on an absolutely incredible rivalry. I would have to imagine takes a back burner after this match because I don't know where you go from here with those two. These two men left it all in that ring. And there's so much I want to talk. There's so many spots. There's so much drama that I want to talk about. I want to get your thoughts on the overall match before we do. What a spectacle! What a
Yeah.
fantastic
I
wrestling
loved this
spectacle.
match. Oh, this was 3 5-star matches in a row. I couldn't believe my eyes. And then it was over. I mean, then Revolution was done. It was crazy. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
nothing happened. Just black screen. But anyway, yeah, no. Seriously though, this match was phenomenal. I'm running out of adjectives. I'm gonna have to turn into a fucking comic book writer. Superior, spectacular, amazing, ultimate. This was so good. I know that I'm probably picking one of the spots you have in mind early, but I have to talk about that top, the Spanish fly off the top of the cage. I must have said the word no more than I've ever said in my life. I was like, I do not want this. Please, God, no. Do not do this. I just was so nervous something was going to go wrong. I was like, you guys are both, S level athletes, but still, please do not. Please reconsider. How about reconsidering? Can we reconsider? And it's just they did it perfectly. I mean, apparently Will bruised up his hip, but I mean, if that was the worst of it, then they did it perfectly.
Yeah,
So good.
If the worst thing that happened in this match was that Will bruised his hip, I think he can count himself incredibly lucky, to be honest, because this match had just the most brutal looking spots you will ever see. Like, oh my god, there's. I want to highlight something real quick as well, briefly, which is there's a spot right at the end of this match. I know we're not going chronologically, that's my fault. There's a spot right at the end of this match where Will is setting up for the hidden blade, and Kyle Fletcher is on his knees in front of him. Just gonna have a pregnant pause there while I say that.
Very pregnant. Very, very pregnant.
But no, Kyle Fletcher is on his knees in front of him, and he is screaming at him, and he says, "I hate you! I fucking hate you!
Yes.
Fuck you!" And Will hits him with the most brutal elbow you will ever see in wrestling. He took that man's fucking head off, and it was just a perfect encapsulation of this rivalry in general, this match in general, where it is just two men who have worked themselves up into an absolute frenzy of hatred and emotion, and it all paid off so beautifully in that
they worked
moment.
themselves to a shoot.
But they worked themselves so beautifully into that moment where just the utter raw emotion of it. Kyle Fletcher just I don't have the words to talk about Kyle Fletcher.
You certainly don't. You have a lot of noises though. I love this match. It's a 5 out of 5. I want to be clear. The things I'm about to say are splitting hairs that are minute at best. But the things that did take away from this match for me, very minimally, and it's still a 5-star match. I want to be clear on that. I did not care for the Davis involvement. I understand why it was there. It made perfect story sense. And it was executed well. And Davis took a fucking nasty bump, either from the cage floor or something else. So I hope he's okay. But and Davis is great. I don't know that the storyline's completely working, but he's great. He's doing his best. I just wasn't. That's why Tony Mariah is probably my match of the night. There was pretty much no interference. Even Luther wasn't getting involved or whatever. He just was there. So that did take away a little bit from me, but overall, I didn't mind it. Davis being there made sense. It wasn't overwrought. There was no other members of the Don Callis family getting involved, as far as I remember. It was about as clean of a finish as you could have for this kind of match. So yeah, I still loved it, but that's why personally for me, Mariah Tony, my match of the night. But this is fine hairs we are splitting here because these are all incredible matches, and I am basically searching wildly under a big pile of papers that say excuse number 1 and excuse number 2, and of why this one is my match of the night and not this other amazing, incredible match. But yes, this was awesome. I was waiting for the Styles Clash moment. He sure is hitting a lot of those lately, Adam. Sure is hitting a lot of those lately.
He is. But this one was, oh my god! You couldn't pay me. I assume Kyle Fletcher is getting paid very handsomely. Yes. I don't care what they're paying him. You could not pay me to take this Stars Clash because he takes. We mentioned the Davis interference. The Davis interference is essentially, he beats up Will a bit, but it's essentially to get the weapons into the match. He gets the baseball bat with the spikes, not the spikes, sorry, the baseball bat. That's me playing
Bang bang.
Saints Row a bit. That's me playing Saints Row a bit too much. The baseball bat with the barbed wire wrapped around it, like you say, very Cactus Jack, and
Yes.
Will Ospreay plays up to that. You know, he does the bang bang, and the crowd goes very excited for it. But more importantly, for the sort of the spot we want to talk about here, in the bag there is a pile of thumbtacks, and for all the craziness that had been going on throughout the night, that was one thing that they did keep just for this match was thumbtacks, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
Because they sort of tease. I think Kyle teases, you know, he's going to hit the brain buster onto the tacks, and Will, I think he teased, you know, another move or whatever. But eventually, you know, they go back and forth. Spectacular wrestling, as always, because these two were incapable of doing anything other than spectacular wrestling. And they eventually line it up, and Will Ospreay hits the Styles Clash, but he doesn't hit it so he protects him in a sense, in that he doesn't hit it so that Kyle hits the tacks on his face. But arguably worse, he takes the tacks right in the dick. Oh my god! Just thinking about it now, it's making me shrivel into like a little
I'll
ball.
tell you the
Oh,
moment that made me wince and cringe, and oh my god, when he rubbed all of his blood, Kyle rubbed all of his blood on that armband, and then stuck it in the mouth
oh
of
my god!
Ospreay. I literally like got like a reaction out of that. Like I was like, oh my, like that was, I didn't vomit, but like Jesus Christ, that was
I'm,
nasty.
Kyle Fletcher had a fucking oral fixation in this match. I swear to God. You know,
He did. The tongue waggling on the cage, that the
was
spot we just
licking
mentioned.
everything
Yeah,
like a
it
cat
was
in heat.
insane.
Like
Yeah,
it was gnarly. But
yeah,
like I say, this match was my match of the night. It's probably it, barring I well, it's going to end up on my list for match of the year. I don't want to say it's definitely going to be my match of the year because there's at least one match I can think of that is planned that may well outshine it. But for now, it is my match of the year, maybe joint with Tony and Mariah. This match was spectacular, and I cannot think of a better way to end this podcast than talking about it because oh my god, you know, we talked about the main event. We don't need to talk about it anymore because I just want to end on that spectacular,
I will say
incredible.
one last thing is that they have done a lot of the stuff that people wanted, and they are still complaining that we have gotten rid of the Money in the Bank, we've gotten rid of Cope, we've gotten rid of the quote unquote old people. Swerve is now at the top. Will Ospreay is now at the top. They're both entering the main event scene. You've still got Mox, who I know isn't as good as he used to be, but still is a solid hand. I do think that things are looking upward, but like you said, we'll see. You know, and Swerve, of course, started the scrum, which is no mere coincidence.
No,
So
I think they're
yeah,
very clearly positioning him as, you know, obviously he's the number one contender. It's impossible not to position him as the next threat to Mox. But I think they're definitely positioning him as this is the guy that very well could take the belt off him.
yeah. I think those trios are probably leaving the Death Riders soon. I'm not sure who's taking them. Could be you know, Undisputed, could be Danny and friends basically at this point. Could be
I'm
another
I'm
team that was sitting in
I'm
the high rise. I don't know
pumping for
who that team would be or who the members
I'm
would be
pumping for the
composed
op.
of,
I'm
but
pumping for the op.
yeah.
I think that them being in the top of the, you know, the arena again, you talk about that's no coincidence. I think it's entirely possible that you have Swerve and the Ops sort of coordinating to take out the Death Riders, which I think will be very um I think will be very fucking incredible work. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm very excited for the future of AEW based on this pay per view.
Yes.
So
I think anyone who is going to be there live for Dynasty is going to have a really great time. I couldn't speak to that
yuck it up.
personally.
Yuck it up.
I couldn't speak to that personally, Adam. I wouldn't know anything about that. Ooh.
That's fine. I will be lording it over you when I'm at Forbidden Door, so don't you worry.
I went to Forbidden Door last year. That was a great time, except for that Naito match.
Have you been to an All-In? No, I didn't think so. I've been to 2.
Fuck you. I'm not going to Texas in the summer. Someone was like, "Oh well, there's AC in the building. Does life have AC?" I don't fucking think so. No, thank you. Anyway, yeah, this was honestly, I like my ratings. I won't read them all out or anything, but I overall thought this was an excellent pay-per-view. Let down by a couple of just great matches or solid matches that will be forgotten. But overall was an excellent pay-per-view. Those 4 hours flew by for me. I loved it so much. AEW is where the best wrestle. It's back and it's gone and it's back and it's gone. But we are so back for the millionth time. Let's go.
Let us fucking go. Thank you so much, Dory, for joining me. It wasn't the clusterfuck I was expecting with you, so I thank you for that.
Well, yeah, that's a different promotion. That's a different promotion, Adam.
Yes, of course. How could I forget? But thank you, everyone, for listening to our review of AEW Revolution 2025, a show that will go down in the books for some of the best wrestling you will ever see in your life. And yeah, I'm super excited. We're not entirely sure whether we're doing a review for Dynamite this week. I've watch this space, but for now, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us. Feedback is always welcome in the comments. Get your comments, like and subscribe. I'd be remiss if I didn't add that old YouTube adage at the end. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me, Dory. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone who was watching. And we'll see you on the flip side. Thank you.
Bye.